Roll call, please.
Washburn.
Aye. I mean here.
Doxey.
Here.
Bhatia.
Here.
Anastasio.
Here.
Hewitt.
Here.
Clausen.
Here.
DeGroot.
He's here. So let's go on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go into a quick closed session. This is going to take maybe about 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, and then we'll come back and we'll continue on with the rest of our agenda, starting with public comment. But we do need to do this piece of business first.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, parens 1, parens E, for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss potential development in TID number 5.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Washburn.
Aye.
Doxey.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
Aye.
Clausen.
Aye.
DeGroot.
Aye. Again, we'll be in closed session for about 5-10 minutes. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Gentlemen, we need a motion to go back into open.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to go back into open session.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're back in open session. Okay, so we do have a report out of the closed session tonight, and as it was also discussed in a closed session we had earlier in the evening with Racine County Board and the Community Development Authority related to developments within TID 5. The formal approvals will be voted on at a future meeting, but tonight I am so thrilled and honored to announce that Microsoft Corporation is committed to making a significant investment in Mount Pleasant and intends to make our village the home to its newest data center campus. The potential benefits for the village cannot be overstated. Not only is this great for the village financially, but the fit into TID 5, which was set up to be a technology hub within the Midwest, could not be more perfect. And having a corporate residence such as Microsoft within TID 5 will only serve as a magnet to attract additional high-level growth to Mount Pleasant. This is the culmination of nearly a year's worth of work by our staff, partners, and consultants. And now that Microsoft has made their decision to come to Mount Pleasant, they are eager to get started. Due to Microsoft's timeline, we are on a tight schedule in terms of working through the approval process. The village needs to act on this in March, and then it'll move to the county for consideration in April, with the hope that all of the necessary approvals are completed by the time the ground is thawed. To that end, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this item to a date later this week for formal consideration. But before I get to that motion, I do want to recognize the people that worked so hard to bring this opportunity to the village. Our partners in Milwaukee 7 and RCEDC deserve our gratitude in the efforts that they have made to bring this home. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that our own Claude Loyce has been working tirelessly to bring this to fruition. So congratulations all. Microsoft is coming to Mount Pleasant.
President DeGroot, I would like to make a motion to continue the item pertaining to the Microsoft project to March 30th, 2023 at 5:30.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. Just take a voice vote on this one. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that motion carries. So let's move on to public comment. So members of the public are welcome to provide comments on any matter. Please listen for the president to recognize you. State your name and address for the public record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Can we hear from Denise Rossi? If you'd come up to the podium, name and address.
Good evening. I'm Denise Rossi. I live at 5301 Rossi Lane. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank everybody who is on the board for all the things that you have done. Sometimes you don't always get thanks, you just hear the bad things. So I'd just like to say thank you because you were there for us when we needed help and for the things that we needed, and you stood there and you stood by and have done a lot of wonderful things. I wanted to share a comment from a friend of ours who just came from Phoenix. She was raised in this area and has been gone for 25, 30 years, and she came back in early May and saw all of the road construction, came down KR, and was so impressed with how much this area has changed. And so I'm very proud to say I feel like we've been put on the map, and there are a lot of positive things to go forward, and economic-wise too, to go forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let's hear from Kelly Gallagher.
Kelly Gallagher, 4622 Nola Drive. Late on Monday, February 27th, I got an email from a village resident named George. He found my email address through my campaign website. He wanted me to know that he didn't believe what you were saying about me during the board meeting that night. George didn't like that you were using your official position to campaign against me, Mr. DeGroot. He told me to keep up the good fight. The truth was, that night my father was dying in hospice care, and I simply did not have the energy to watch whatever new gross story you had to tell about me. I was forwarded your press release the next morning, which falsely stated that I failed to pay my business property taxes for the last 3 years and was a partner in the senior campus at Campbell Woods LLC, and that I owe $70,000 in back taxes. So I went back and I watched your bit of community theater from that night, 11 minutes of pure slander. I was not and have never been a business partner in the senior campus. Joel Campbell was the sole fund manager. My one single share agreement states specifically that I have no authority or power to act on behalf of the LLC. I never did. I attended no meetings, cast no votes, and made no business decisions for the LLC, and I have no more responsibilities for the liabilities of the senior campus than I do for Boeing or Abbott or any other company in which I am also a shareholder. A fact that was made perfectly clear to you by my attorney in the cease and desist notice mailed to you on March 15th. On Saturday, I was forwarded this piece of garbage, which was mailed to residents in Mount Pleasant by your campaign. Once again, you make the same false claims and malicious statements. Credit to you, Dave, for using your own fake statements made at the village board meeting as your source. You were warned that I would take legal action against you if you persisted in repeating these lies, but you simply cannot help yourself, can you? I have directed my attorney to file a lawsuit against you for defamation this week in Racine County Circuit Court. Further, any trustee who circulates or posts Mr. DeGroot's press release or mailer after midnight tonight will be included in the suit. Right now, that will be Ron Bhatia. Take it down or call your lawyer, sir. And here's the interesting part. George was right. When I'm out knocking doors and on the phones, people don't believe you. I wish I could say the words that they use about you, but if I did, you'd have to throw me out on my can. Right, Dave? Isn't that what you said? We're offering residents something better than smears and slanders. There is a very big change coming to Mount Pleasant, and it doesn't include you. You are not fit to lead this community. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear from Ernie Rossi. It's enough, guys.
President DeGroot, may I ask her a question?
No.
Okay.
We're going to hear from Ernie Rossi now.
Ernie Rossi. My address is actually 3332 North Elmwood Drive, but I'm speaking to the board tonight as a business owner of Rossi Construction, which is 3055 Phillips Avenue. I wanted to comment on something that I don't talk publicly about. I've always been very reserved about anything that has to do with Foxconn, but I think it's time to give praise where praise is due. As a contractor, we have had the benefit of working with Foxconn since 2018, and that's really the result of the decisions that President DeGroot and this board have made. So these are great people to work with. They represent a lot of the community that we're all familiar with, if not directly in Mount Pleasant, the Racine, Kenosha counties. I've cultivated a lot of great relationships. I've done a lot of great work and very interesting things that I most likely would have never had the opportunity to do if it weren't for you. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, and I hope you continue on.
Okay, can we hear from Theo Harris?
I'm at 1429 Oaks Road, but I am here tonight to discuss Lot 3 and 4 on KR. Mr. President, I'd like to thank you and your constituents here for being part of an opportunity for my wife and I to build our dream home at that address. It was tied up in the natural preserves that you all had voted for preserving. And again, I thank you for the landmark that you saved in our community and has been recognized by the state as being very rare. And I have the privilege now as a future resident of Mount Pleasant and on KR to be able to enjoy it. So I thank you very much for that. I noticed the young lady here was speaking on your, against you. I am not he. I support all the things you have done, from Foxconn to thank you. Now we have Microsoft. As a businessman in this community as well, I foresee a great future in the things that you have done for this community, sir. So with that, thank you very much. You have my vote, and anything that you need for me to send out to the public, I'm for it. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's hear from James Poplowski.
Hi, James Poplowski, 1107 Romaine Avenue, Racine, Wisconsin. I'm chairman of the UAW Local 180 Retirees at Case. Imagine my dismay when I show up at the company while the active members are on strike, and there sits 3 Mount Pleasant squad cars. I got the Milwaukee Board of Labor Council with me, Wisconsin Alliance of Retired Americans Executive Board, and my executive board. Your squads were there to intimidate the strikers. No citations were ever issued. And I'd like to know who authorized that. I know from my open records request that Case paid $294,000 and some change to the town. Those squads should have been patrolling, and the taxpayer should be aware of the wear and tear of them sitting there for 9 months watching those members who only wanted a fair contract. Maybe they threw some cigarette butts on the ground. That ain't illegal. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear from Travis Yankee.
Good evening. Travis Yankee, 103 Trellis Lane. Well, my original script of the usual no transparency, no respect for myself and fellow residents, all those other good things that this board is known for was torn up about 3 hours ago. Because with today's announcement, I'm excited for the possibility to finally bring jobs to the area that was known as Foxconn. I can't wait to roll up my sleeves in about 1 month and get to work with Microsoft in their endeavor with Mount Pleasant and Racine County. My global project experience will lend well to working with them at a company of this nature and size. In addition, Mr. Eric Martinez has some great business expertise for this project as well. For all 4 challengers will be the perfect set of new trustees to ensure this project moves forward as it's currently planned and will intended give the benefits to this village like it's looking for. Thank you. Thank you for bringing Mount Pleasant and, bringing Microsoft here for us to move forward after you're gone.
Right. Okay, can we hear from Sandra McCulloch?
Hi, Sandra Maculak, 5225 Lathrop Avenue. I came here originally to say thank you for my 20th year here as a Mount Pleasant resident. But hearing about Microsoft just makes me so excited because I hear about so many kids who graduate college and move away. My oldest son did. And now to hear that Microsoft is coming here and that's going to not only bring jobs, but keep our kids here. And as a mom, I think that's important to keep our kids close to us, and I'm just very happy to hear about it. Thank you.
Can we hear from Dan Dimler?
Dan Dimler, 4622 Knollwood Drive. For transparency, I am Kelly Gallagher's husband, and I could not be more proud of her for running such a great campaign, and campaign with integrity. She's found 3 great running mates, Travis Yankee, Eric Martinez, and Kim Mahoney. Integrity. No one has come looking for money from me or my wife, Dave. We are not, or never will be, scofflaws. We've lived in this community for 30 years. We know when someone is telling the truth and when someone is not. And Dave is not telling the truth. He hasn't told the truth in the last 5 years. Foxconn came in. They're supposed to bring in 13,000 jobs. Data center, hey, that's great. That's 30 jobs. We're only 11,750 short. The area around Foxconn, 9 lanes of highway going to nowhere. You think a data center is going to need that much? We've got all that building out there, 7 million gallons of water. You knew Foxconn wasn't going to need that water. You knew they weren't going to need the electricity, yet you kept on building to the benefit of Mr. Rossi. Would Mr. Rossi like 20 times more business than he has now? Because that's how short Foxconn is. They've given us 5% of what they promised. 5% of what you built for, 5% of the $400 million that you've put on our backs and on the backs of our children and grandchildren. It's not coming to fruition. There's a big pile of dirt out there. It should be Mount Claude. When is the last time Claude Loyce has told you guys who he's talking to at Foxconn, how he's negotiating? Tell me. I'll go away. I've been in front of this board many times asking the same question. Mr. Baccia's monthly update, quarterly update, doesn't mention Foxconn at all. Integrity. Kelly Gallagher has more integrity than this whole board here. And she's got more guts too. And I'm very proud of her. And any way this election comes out, you guys have got to stop spending money. You're spending $32,000 on Claude Loyce every single month for the last 4 years. This guy's pocketed $2 million of our money. And the $2 million, guess what? We're paying interest on all that money. Paying interest on salaries you guys are hiding in the TID districts. You're not putting them on the rolls. You're rolling everything into the TIDs. And those TIDs come up. They have to be paid back. And you guys aren't planning for that. Kelly Gallagher, Kim Mahoney, Eric Martinez, and Travis Yankee. They've got a plan for that. Vote for them.
Okay, can we hear from Dan Paulson?
Thank you for the privilege of allowing me to come and speak. I have been a lifelong resident of Racine. I'm going to be 73 years old. Until 18 months ago, when my spouse and I moved to a community in South Milwaukee. a very close and dear person to me in my life, did not live in Racine for over a decade, and called me and asked me, where would you live if you were going to live in Racine? And the last 5 years that we lived in Racine County was in Mount Pleasant. I said, without a doubt, Mount Pleasant is the only place to come. And they bought a house that I probably would have demolished and rebuilt and made it livable, and are happy. But this individual was afraid to come to this meeting tonight and asked if I would be their proxy. And the reason they were afraid to come, let me just stop for 1 second. I'm a retired neuropsychologist and university professor. I co-chair a healthcare and biopharma discussion group at one of the top 5 universities in the world. I'm an expert in mental health, and I'm an expert in health care. So what is going to come from me is coming, I'm giving you my professional opinion. This person was afraid to come to this meeting tonight for fear that there would be some type of retribution after they spent many years and graduated from a top 10 medical college, that there would be some retribution for them speaking out, speaking what they had to say. This person and their spouse, very good friends with, I believe it's Mr. DeGroot's campaign manager, and his opponent went to his campaign manager's employer and made false allegations against him that were vicious, derogatory, and without merit. As a result, this individual works at a very large financial institution, and as a result, they had to do due diligence, which was to call in federal bank examiners, CPAs from the FBI. He came out clean as a whistle. In fact, the bank examiner from the federal side of bank examiners said they should promote him into a higher position with the ideas and the creativity he had. Now, what I've heard here tonight as a mental health professional is a lot of mudslinging, a lot of anger, a lot of vengefulness, And that's the environment we live in today. Anxiety and depression are up 51%. People don't feel safe anymore. And when you don't feel safe, you're anxious. You're waiting for the next thing to come along. COVID changed the world, and COVID changed every single one of your brains. Whether you got vaccinated or you didn't get vaccinated, you may have had COVID and never knew you had COVID. It changed the world.
Mr. Paulson, you want to think about wrapping this up?
Okay. So laugh at me. I didn't do that to you, did I? It's not funny.
Guys,
So, the point is, you, and you have all, Republicans and Democrats, have come together and worked together and made this one of the most beautiful, productive communities in the country. There could be no television series that would be exemplary of this community and how you have managed to cross party lines and work together and support one another. Right now, we do not need change. We need stability. And if there's change in this board, then things get turned upside down and we start from zero again. You don't need to start from zero again. That would be a disservice to every one of you. Maybe you don't like what some of the Democrats do or the Republicans. I'm of no party. I'm apolitical. I vote for who I think is the best. I'm an outsider now. I have an objective view, and I have a clinical view. So, I leave you with this thought that changing this board, after it's taken years to get it to mesh, to come together, would be one of the biggest mistakes you ever made as citizens. And to put your trust into somebody who would go to another person, to a campaign manager's employer, that person could have lost their job or gone to jail. They did nothing wrong. The FBI cleared them. I do contract work for federal law enforcement.
okay, Dan, wrap it up.
Okay, that's the end. If you want popcorn all over the place, change the damn board. If you don't, leave it like it is, because it's working.
Name and address, never got that.
Dan Paulson, 7781 South Drexel Ridge Way, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 53154.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson.
And the rest of you that come up, let's cut the bullshit out.
Okay, we're done.
Okay.
Sir,
Mudslinging. Call it like
You
it
need
is, the group. It's bullshit.
we need to move on, sir.
Okay, let's hear from Kim Mahoney.
It's my turn. It's my turn, Mr. Paulson. You had more than your fair share of time. Thank you. Kim Mahoney, 3813 Daisy Lane, Racine, Wisconsin, 53405. I am a resident of Mount Pleasant and a candidate for trustee in the upcoming election on April 4th. I just, before I get into my comments, I just want to say that Mr. Paulson may not be aware of the 80 homeowners that were forced to sell their land for the Foxconn project, some under false threats of eminent domain. While it has its downfalls, Facebook is an effective communication tool. The village uses it to share information with residents. Candidates use it to post information about their campaign. Unfortunately, members of this board use it to post information only to their super secret club members. You see, if you post a question, a correction, or criticism of their Facebook page, they will block you and delete your comments. As a candidate, when we're out talking to voters, one of the complaints that comes up is the lack of transparency for this board. The board has made it clear that it does not want voter engagement. They do not want to hear complaints or questions from the residents. They will not engage in discussions. Much of what they do is behind closed doors. They think they know best. The Racine County Eye scheduled a candidate forum to be held on Facebook Live. Every single one of the board members backed out, these current board members. They refused to engage with Racine County Eye, with their challengers, and most importantly, with the voters. You can watch the challengers on Racine County Eye's Facebook page live on Wednesday, March 29th at 7 p.m. We'll take your questions. If voters wanted to meet the current board members running for election in person, you missed your chance. They held a secret meeting at the Dish last Wednesday, for which you had to be vetted before they would tell you the date and location. So now, if you want representation by them, you need to be in their super secret club. If you want real representation from candidates who are not afraid of hard questions, who will try to resolve your problems, then vote for Kelly Gallagher, Travis Yankee, Eric Martinez, and Kim Mahoney. Early voting is taking place this week at Village Hall, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. The election is April 4th. Please all vote. Thank you.
Okay, can we hear from Ken Brown?
Thank you for having me. I actually live in that other city that's down the road, Ken Brown, 610 Main Street in Racine. I wish that we had all of the great activity that is going on here in Mount Pleasant happening in our community. The one bad thing about all the great things you do is every once in a while Corey Mason gets to look better. So we do need change in our city. You don't need it here. As far as Ms. Mahoney's comment about the debate, we actually had a forum scheduled. I personally was handling it. I was with the Racine Taxpayers Association. I had agreement from Ms. Gallagher. I had agreement from Mr. DeGroot. We were going to do it right here in this room. Denise and myself would filter the questions so that the questions would be, I did not. My time is Gallagher. My time
let
is
him
Gallagher.
speak.
My time is Gallagher. And the questions would be filtered between Denise and myself, and all the questions would pertain specifically to the job that each of them are running for. I spoke to Denise as she was getting on the plane. I rise here tonight. I did not. And I've already talked to her about it, and we have it clear. You were the one that backed out, ma'am. So in either case, I'm here tonight because I heard about what happened to my friend, Sam Wallen, in his shocking situation. I wanted to take a moment to read a statement from him. He cannot be here tonight himself. He is in a graduate school class up in Milwaukee at this time, and here you go. This is from Sam Wallen. Good evening. Several weeks ago, this board revealed that an outspoken critic of the village, Kelly Gallagher, was getting a check from taxpayers after her business was bought out. Ma'am, this is really my time. I did not interrupt yours. I'm reading a statement from Mr. Whalen. You had your, and you'll hear more
Enough.
about
Let him
that in a moment,
speak.
please. a check from taxpayers after her business was bought out. It was bought out because it went to a sheriff's sale. It had missed numerous payments of its lenders and owed $70,000 in taxes. The village, the property was bought out. At a sheriff's sale, it missed numerous payments to its lenders and owed $70,000 in taxes. The village board made the right call. Your efforts protected a beautiful forest for all future generations. Since then, Ms. Gallagher has threatened me, over a press release on the subject that mentioned my name. She claims that she doesn't owe those taxes, as she stated here, because it was held by her LLC. This is a ridiculous statement. The legal nature of an LLC is that they are pass-through entities where the LLC and the owners are the ones that are one and the same, but with certain protections for some liabilities. That's why it's called a limited liability corporation. That is why she is called a member as opposed to a shareholder. Regardless of the ownership's percentage, her business is just that. It's hers. For someone who is running to be a village president, it should be mentioned that leaders take responsibility for both the success and the failure of their organizations. I will submit this for the record when I'm finished, by the way. For someone who is running to be the village president, it should be mentioned that the leaders take responsibility for both the success and the failure of their organizations, not shift the blame or make excuses. Although she says she doesn't owe those taxes, does she honestly think that the tax man was not going to come after her? She should check with her accountant. We can have a discussion out in the hallway afterwards, Ms. Gallagher. I'd be more than happy to. And I'm reading Sam's statement, not my own. If she was not responsible for the gross business failure and back taxes, why is she now getting a check from the village for this buyout? Still skeptical? Look at what Ms. Gallagher said on the subject a few years back. She stated that Mark Gleason, the former president of this village, should not serve on any committee or be elected to office because he owed the same type of taxes as she now does through his LLC. An identical situation, but now Ms. Gallagher is the guilty one. I should note that I'm somewhat informed on the subject of LLCs. After all, I work in commercial banking. Again, this is Sam Wallen. He works with Chase Bank. Of course, Ms. Gallagher is aware of my employment. As a matter of fact, my attorney is serving Ms. Gallagher for repeatedly harassing me at work, attacking my reputation with blatantly false claims, and attempting to get me terminated from my job. This all began on March the 3rd after my name appeared in a press release by my longtime friend and village president, Dave DeGroot. Ms. Gallagher chose to call and make a false statement to my branch manager at the bank that I work for in an attempt to get me fired. This claim was researched in detail, found to be entirely false, and tossed out. It was only at this time that I learned that she had attempted to do the very same thing the last election, which was also found out to be fake. But I was not even informed of it at that time. No one should be attacked at their employment because they volunteered for a friend who was running for a local, nonpartisan elected office. Therefore, I have hired an attorney to serve her with I hired an attorney and served her with a cease and desist letter, which obviously she has not done. But it didn't stop. The attacks, it got worse. Since then, Ms. Gallagher has been calling and emailing the staff of the branch multiple times a day. In these dozens of calls and emails, she makes contradictory claims, obviously false statements, and so on, but all with the same goal, to get my employer to fire me. This adds to bizarre history of accusing me of things like having an affair with a village employee. Now my coworkers are getting yelled at every day by her. They are innocent and they have nothing to do with this. I just want these attacks to stop. I never thought by volunteering to help a friend that my job would be at stake and my reputation attacked. That's why my attorney is taking Ms. Gallagher to court, and I am seeking a restraining order from her through my employer. It is so sad that political candidate would harass and attack a volunteer in an attempt to get them fired over a difference in politics. Thank you, Sam Wallen. And as you can see, we would have not been able to have that forum anyway because Ms. Gallagher cannot be quiet enough while somebody else is speaking to get through that session. Thank you. Good night. Show me the line.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next item, which is item F, consent agenda. Trustee Hewitt.
Mr. President, I make a motion to adopt the items on the consent agenda.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Please note that I abstain from number 1, the minutes of the February 27 meeting.
So the motion carries with
One
trustee Clausen's
abstention.
notes. Okay, so let's move on to new business. We've got community development, direction, and possible action on Ordinance 10-2023, 423 South Fancher Road Comprehensive Plan Amendment, CPA 22-4.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve Ordinance 10-2023, a comprehensive plan amendment for 423 South Fancher Road, CPA-22-4.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. Mr. Schultz.
Mr. President, members of the board, the applicant applied to amend the village as part of the land use element of the multi-jurisdictional comprehensive plan for Racine County 2035 for approximately 2.6 acres from residential areas, including churches, multifamily to commercial/residential. The applicant wishes to convert the existing single-family home into a wedding and event venue. The village board held a duly noticed public hearing for the application on February 27, 2023, at which no person spoke in favor or against the application. The application meets the following goals of the comprehensive plan. Goal 9-1, promote redevelopment and infill in areas with existing infrastructure and services, enhancing existing residential, commercial, and industrial areas. And goal 9-3, encourage development patterns that promote efficient and sustainable use of land that can be readily linked by transportation systems, and utilize existing public utilities and services. The village staff do not believe the amendment will lead to any detrimental environmental effects. The village parks and open space plan does not show the property for protection. The village staff believe the amendment complies with surrounding land uses. The property is surrounded on 3 sides by land approved for moderate density multifamily development, which would match the increase in intensity of an event business. The property also lies next to South Fancher Road, County Trunk Highway, and designated principal arterial street. Therefore, the village staff expect increased intense uses to take advantage of the connectivity as the village grows and changes. The adjacent properties west of South Fancher Road are all rurally platted, low-density residential development and not typically next to event businesses. The village staff believe the existing village landscaping and screening ordinances would mitigate parking and noise considerations from those adjacent properties. Vanguard Development, the company which owns the surrounding moderate density zoned areas, previously said they may also consider commercial service area uses on some of the lands along South Fancher Road. Such uses include consumer maintenance and repair service, such as tailors, laundry, picture framing shops, personal service, such as barbers, hair and nail salons, or in studio or instructional services, such as yoga studios, tutoring, or photography studios. The village staff recommended and the Plan Commission approved extending the potential area for a mix of uses southwards along the east side of South Fancher Road to accommodate these potential future requests. The village staff are currently working on the draft local area plan 5. One draft goal from the plan is to limit any mixed-use planned commercially zoned areas to intensities below B3, such as B2, MX2, B1, or MX1. This amendment were approved, the property rezoned, and then properly converted to a B2 zone. Any assembly use, such as a wedding venue, would be limited to an occupant capacity of no more than 250 persons. The existing facilities, local and county facilities, adequately serve the type of development. The village staff believe the proposed amendment would enhance economic development within the county. The village staff agree with the applicant's narrative when it says local facilities, especially hotels, restaurants, catering services, florists, and wedding rentals will benefit from wedding planners and out-of-town guests that will come into town for the wedding. The Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission's Vision 2050 plan shows the areas contained within the application a small lot traditional neighborhood, and some of the lands as agricultural, other open lands. Sewer Pack describes small lot traditional neighborhood as a mix of housing types and businesses with single-family homes of a quarter acre or less, and multifamily housing found within and at the edges of cities and villages. With all of that, the village staff and the Plan Commission, via Resolution 4-2023, recommend the village board moves to approve Ordinance 10-2023, 423 South Fancher Road, Comp Plan Amendment, CPA 22-4.
We can't close the doors, guys.
Gotta leave one open.
You guys can off yourselves.
gotta leave one open.
Alex,
Andrew, all right, let her handle it.
It's an open meeting.
any discussion from the board? Are you done, Sam?
I'm done. I can answer any questions from the village board.
Are there any?
Mr. President, I just want to add a comment there. It was discussed and unanimously approved by the planning commission.
Excellent.
No questions.
So then on the matter of ordinance 10-2023 and amendment CPA 22-4, roll call, please.
Washburn.
Aye.
Doxey.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
Definitely.
Clausen.
Aye.
DeGroot.
President says aye. That motion carries.
Who's screaming out there?
So let's move on to item number 2, which is discussion possible action to approve Public Works Capital Equipment Budget Resolution 3-2023.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve Budget Resolution 3-2023 as presented. Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. Mike?
Yep, this is really just a cleanup item. There's a number of things that came in over budget, but there were more items that came in under budget. Overall, this is nearly a decrease of $6,000 to Fund 400, which is our capital fund. So, I mean, it's actually good news, and it's going to be fully funded by the capital fund. If you have any questions as far as the equipment specifically, Tony, our village engineer, is here on hand to answer any of those.
Well, as long as we've got Tony here, Mr. Byer, can you enlighten us just a little bit more?
Yeah, you've got basically numerous individual capital line items here, and I think as everybody knows, there's been quite a bit of volatility as far as purchasing vehicles, equipment, whatever it may be. We put our budget together in August, September, and as we wait for that all to get approved, some of these things change over time. Like Mike said, the cumulative of all these accounts is still below budget, but there were a couple items that went up, and it requires that we kind of shift monies between individual accounts to make it work.
Okay. Thoughts from the board?
No comment.
Seems pretty straightforward. So in the matter of Budget Resolution 3-2023, roll call, please.
Washburn.
Aye.
Doxey.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
Aye.
Clausen.
Aye.
DeGroot.
Aye. Motion carries. So let's move on to Public Works. We've got discussion, possible action to approve a developer's agreement with Racine Water Utility-Kinzie Avenue reconstruction water main extension.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve a developer's agreement with Racine Water Utility for Kinzie Avenue reconstruction water main extension.
Second.
So I hear a motion and second. Back to Tony.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So we're in the midst of finalizing our design for reconstruction of a short section of Kinzie Avenue off of Emerson Road. It's about 700 feet, and this is pretty much the only location in the area that doesn't have water main right now. And what we typically do before any resurfacing or reconstruction project is if there is no municipal water in place, we will survey the residents, and by ordinance, if 51% or more of them are in favor of water, we would go ahead and build a project and assess it back. In this case, we did the survey. We had about a third of them who were in favor and the rest were not. So that puts us in a position where we either don't build this water main or the village builds it and then simply just collects that money whenever somebody connects. You set up a system of connection charges for anybody that does connect. So Because this is such a short stretch, again, it's about 700 feet. We estimate the water main at about $200,000. And we probably won't touch this road again for 30 years. In staff's opinion, this is a special case. I think we just get this built. We do have a few folks out there that would like to connect. And because it's a smaller project like this, I think we could hold those funds until future people connect. And I think this is a special case where it's appropriate just to get this done and clean it up and have it done for the next 30 years.
Mr. President, we did have at our utility meeting on Thursday, we did have two gentlemen there that were from the neighborhood and were residents that were in favor. And when you look at the map that we had in our packet, you can see that this is such a very small stretch of disconnected area without water main service, meaning they, don't have hydrants in front of their homes and so forth. The other thing about it is that it will create a loop for the water main. Right now, you have two water mains that are disconnected, don't loop, and so you don't have as good a pressure on those ends. Technically, it's a little more, it's hydrology and water main 101 or 401, but in any event, there were multiple reasons why being able to do this at this time when the road was going to be rebuilt. It's part of our paving program anyway, and the convenience to those people living in the neighborhood who don't want to hook up right this minute, having a 10-year deferral on that, I think made a lot of sense for those. It wasn't forcing anyone to spend money that they didn't have. So all in all, it was a good benefit and improvement for the water system, the fire department, as well as completing the construction of the water main on that street as part of another ongoing project. So money well spent and so forth. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. President, I was going to make some comment that it's a good project for the reason, but my colleague, or trustee Washburn, has said everything, so I don't have anything to add except I echo what she said.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, it's just something that makes sense.
It does.
So on that note, the motion is out there. Roll call, please.
Washburn?
Aye.
Doxy?
Aye.
Bhatia?
Aye.
Anastasio?
Aye.
Hewitt?
Aye.
Clausen?
Aye.
DeGroot?
I'm not sure who's here to speak on their behalf, but I can't enter village administrator.
Okay. Administrator Murphy has somebody that she wants to recognize.
Oh, I think we have a room full of scouts that we need to. We would be remiss if we did not recognize you for sitting through this very long meeting. I think Trustee Anastasia, do you want to, if it's okay with Mr. President?
Yes,
I
welcome.
think she's familiar.
Welcome, Scouts. They heard from me their last meeting. I went and talked about local government at the, forgot the name of that building. The Bartlett Youth Center, yes, which is the first place that I voted when I turned 18 and was able to vote in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
And Kay is a friend of mine and said that the boys needed to attend a local meeting to earn their badge. And I'm sure that I never expected quite such an interesting meeting for you. But welcome, and we're so glad that you could all come.
Did Trustee Clausen have a report?
I do. At the last Tourism Committee, they reviewed a new grant application and 2 sponsorship opportunities. And they did have a visit from Ken Michael regarding the Franksville Craft Beer Garden, which is going to open in May.
Oh.
And then coming up, the American Junior Golf Preview at Meadowbrook will be the end of this month, April 29 and 30. And Mount Pleasant Momentum Bike Race, remember last year how popular? That is set for June 21st with a new course around the village campus.
Oh, wow. Very good tourism.
So in the normal course of events, we'd usually be adjourning right about now, but we've due to the nature of what we got going on, I want the attorney to explain how we're going to continue this meeting to a future date.
Well, earlier at the top of the meeting, we had a motion to continue to, I believe it was March 30th at 5:30 PM. So the meeting will be in recess until that time. No motion to adjourn.
Oh, I see, okay.
So we stand recessed until Thursday at 5:30, correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you, everybody.